Bene's Bloody Bits.
Welcome to Triple B. My name is Jason Bene. He is film historian Malcom, founder of the Claptrap Harvey. How's it going, man? We got another Monday ahead of us.
I'm doing really good. It's going to be a good week. It's been a busy weekend, plenty of time with the wife, and it's Halloween month. So, which means that it's time to get the Halloweens out more, the horror movies.
Oh, we have some talking to do the week of Halloween, but today's topic is our favorite horror films from the 2010s. So we're very current. And Malcolm's got 5 picks. I have 5 picks. So a total of 10 films. And we don't share any favorites. So these are 10 separate films. I'm going to start off with Rob Zombie's The Lords of Salem. I like Rob Zombie as a filmmaker. I think he gets a lot of hate. I'm not a big fan of his Halloween films, but I think some people go off on him because he's a huge rock star and he cast his wife in a lot of films. But I think Sheri Moon Zombie, this is her best acting. This is, of all the films that she's done, aesthetically, this is kind of like the best of all Rob Zombie's movies kind of put together. It's not a remake. It's not a sequel. Sheri Moon Zombie plays a DJ and she gets this record, and it's kind of like playing on the Satanic Panic thing a little bit, but it's basically calling back to an older time where witches were, around. And I like it visually. It's like a hallucinogenic, like a Ken Russell film, very trippy. I saw this on a matinee during the middle of the week and nobody was in the theater. And I loved that because it was like watching it at home, but on this massive screen. But I remember walking out going, damn, regardless of what you think of Rob Zombie, this is his magnum opus. This is his best film. Do you like The Lords of Salem as much as I do?
You know what? I've never seen it. How bad is that? I've never seen it. But just like this, I saw Saw 5 in the cinema on my own and on the big screen, and that was a hell of an experience. But yeah, no, I've not seen it. So it's been one of my wanted to see, but I've never had the chance to pick it up. So
I think you would like it.
Because people say it's his best one, don't they?
What would you say is your favorite Rob Zombie film that you have seen?
31.
I like that. Yeah, a lot of people look. I love Devil's Rejects is good. House of a Thousand Corpses. I actually like Lords of Salem. 31 was brutal. I even didn't mind his Monsters prequel that everybody based off a trailer thought was going to be complete garbage. But when you actually sat down and watched it, it's supposed to be a low budget, campy film. And he loves the Monsters. He's even on audio commentary on, I think, Monster Go Home disc from Scream Factory. And, Dragula, it's all about the Monsters with him. But I really dug Lords of Salem. Hopefully this recommendation will make you seek it out because I think you're going to.
Oh, definitely.
Meg Foster's in it as well. It's got a great cast and just solid. And 31, I'm glad you brought that up. 31 is a damn good film too. Trashy fun. But that's my first pick for favorite horror films of the 2010s. Let's see what Malcolm has in store for us.
Ooh.
Get Out.
Get Out from Jordan Peele. Now this film surprised me because I watched the trailer. I was like, oh, it's going to be bad white people and that, and that kind of thing, like you expect, because the trailer kind of gives you that. But going in and after watching it, I was like, wow, this is a really smart horror film. The lead character, I can't remember. You remember the guy's name, didn't you?
I don't, but he was really good in the film.
I
don't remember his name. I just know that Jordan Peele. I just know Jordan Peele directed it. I couldn't tell you one cast member's name.
Okay, well, we're going to go with that then. So Jordan Peele directs it, but the guy who plays the lead character is phenomenal in it. And so is I think it's his brother or cousin, who basically keeps saying to him, "Look, you don't trust white people. They take it to their home, and you don't know what's going to happen. They're crazy, right?" Anyway, he goes with her to meet her family, and there's all these weird things, and I've got to say and I'm going to say this, and I people don't say the wrong way. There's all these black members of staff, right? And they're all really weird acting, like they're really It's really strange. Like they run in the woods late at night. They do all this weird stuff, and you're like, "What's going on?" And you slowly but surely see what's going on. Like this moment where he's talking to the mother, and he drops into like the teacup
Mm.
when she's hypnotizing him.
She does. She puts him under a spell with the spoon.
He kind of just falls into it. It's such a great, creepy scene. But I'm not going to spoil the movie because obviously that's not what we want to do because we're not dissecting the movie. But it's got such great acting. It's got one of the women from that show Girls in it, the HBO show. And it's just really, really like dark. And you feel like you're really falling into it. To me, this is one of Jordan Peele's best movies. I wasn't a fan of Us. I really wasn't. I thought that was a bit, But this, I thought was really good. And I highly recommend it to people because I feel like if you want to go in, you want a little bit of comedy, but the type of comedy you expect from a horror movie, when you're in the cinema, you know, we go, oh no, and all this, without gore, without all this horrible stuff, I think Get Out's perfect for it. You've seen it, right?
Yeah, I saw it in the theaters. I mean, Get Out deals with race relations in America between African American people and white people. And it's smart, but it's not heavy-handed. It's not. It's more like in the vein of George Romero, where it's a horror film and it's got social commentary, but it doesn't overthrow the plot. It's there though, and it's definitely interesting, and it pushed a lot of people's buttons, and it asked people to question how they treat other people of different nationalities and races and religions. And this movie is very timely because here we are in 2024. As an American, I can say this, United States, we're still very fragmented and fractured racially and socially and economically. And so this film taps on that, and it made a ton of money. Buku money at the box office. People,
this is one of the films that cemented him as a director.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't as big a fan as Us and Nope. I turned off about 30 minutes into it. I said nope to Nope. And but this film out the gate was just, amazing social
Did you like his Twilight Zone series?
I have Paramount Plus, but I haven't sat down and watched it yet. I believe it lasted 2 seasons.
Yeah, it did. 2 seasons.
I'll get around to it. But look, Get Out is definitely one of the strongest genre films of the time.
Get out there and get it, guys.
Okay. Alex Aja, the director of High Tension and Hills Have Eyes. Piranha 3D. I like Joe Dante's Piranha. I've even interviewed Joe about it for Delirium. This movie, it could have been on our remake list from last week, but I wanted to hold it off till this. But it's like Piranha on steroids. Everything that was fun about the original, this movie just blows it out of the water. I mean, the Piranha looked great. Some of it's CG, some of it's practical, but the casting, Christopher Lloyd, Richard Dreyfuss, who's basically playing the same role of Hooper as he did in Jaws. Eli Roth, who I love him as a filmmaker, but is annoying in real life, gets a glorious death, right? Rampant nudity. I mean, underwater nude scene with 2 girls frolicking. I watched it in the theaters in 3D, and it lasted like for 5 minutes, and it was shot over.
When they were frolicking in the water in 3D, were they bouncing up here, and was anything happening? Or
well, the wife was next to me, so I had to keep it in check. But but just talk about a movie that if you're going to remake it, just swing for the fences. And this, through Dimension Films, theatrically released. This was the height of the 3D comeback, and movies like My Bloody Valentine and Piranha just absolutely took advantage of it. It's just it's like Girls Gone Wild as a horror film. It just every gore scene seemed to want to top the next one, and it's just completely entertaining. I didn't like John Gulager's Piranha 3DD as much. It didn't have it kind of was in a the little theme park, but I still enjoyed it. Didn't have a bite to it, did it? Yeah, but this one, they just went for it, and this was Alex Aja, just like a minor studio system, just them giving him carte blanche to do whatever he wanted. And I love this film. Piranha 3D is beautiful.
It's brilliant. I saw this at Christmas one year, and it was on the TV. And I was skimming through the channels, and I was like, "Oh, let's see what this is." And I was like, "Whoa!" you know. And let's just say it was a good time. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. And so
What's
some of the most beautiful women you'll see in it.
The girl in the red bikini, what's her name again? Brooke?
Kelly Brook.
Kelly Brook. But I like her because she's not super skinny. She's a brick house. She's mighty, letting it all hang out, like the Commodores.
There was a over here where she was one of the most beautiful women in the world, and now she complains about that.
Oh, really? She doesn't like being known for that?
Well, now she's like, everybody's seeing me as like a sex symbol and all this, and you're like, well, then you shouldn't advertise yourself as that, then, should you?
There's nothing wrong with being remembered as a sex symbol. All right. Number 2 pick for Malcom.
Oh, Revenge. Now, this film is one of those films that shocked me. So I bought the second sight Blu-ray, and I heard, there's this thing, but boy, is this a bloody film. Is this a dark, bloody film? Oh, there's a bit where she basically meets this guy. She goes to this private villa. She sleeps with him, and then his friends turn up. Bad things happen, and end up chasing her, and end up knocking her off a cliff, and she gets impaled by a tree branch. And she's laying there, and then she pulls herself off, and they chase her, and one thing after another. It's like, my God. But the ending, where the guy's wrapping cellophane around his thing, and then running around in a circle with all this blood, oh my word, this has got to be one of the most bloodiest films I've ever seen.
And the girl that directed it, she's the same one that did The Substance that's out right now with Demi Moore that everybody's talking about?
Yes, that's right.
So is this
that's why I picked it.
Is this Rape Revenge? What is this?
No, it's not. She chooses to sleep with the guy, but this other guy tries to assault her, and I can't remember if he actually, I think he actually does, the other guy. And then basically she's like, I want to leave, I want this. And they go, we can't let her leave because what happened? And then basically it's whatever. But it's just so violent and so, like somebody, like one guy's running and gets something stuck in his foot, and the blood is shooting in his foot, and he's running along, and all this. It's like, oh my word.
So it's kind of like a female empowering film.
Yeah, she's one good thing about it is no matter how dirty and she looks gorgeous throughout the whole film. So, and she keeps those earrings in. I don't know how she does that.
Yeah, this is
an incredible movie.
I've let Revenge slip past me. I definitely need to check it out. Maybe I'll double it up when The Substance seems to be like getting a lot of talk. So
you should definitely get this. It's a good film.
All right, let's see what's next here. Mother. I'm blocking Jennifer Lawrence. Let's look at her real quick because she's much more attractive than me.
For a second there, it looked like you had hair. Paramount put this out, theatrically released horror film. This split people down the middle. You either love Mother. Yeah, people couldn't understand it, could they?
But I like it's like this. It starts off, it's a slow burn. You got this couple, Javier Bardem, Jennifer Lawrence, who was dating the director, Darren Aronofsky at the time. And these people keep coming to the house. And, Jennifer Lawrence is like, who the hell are these people? And they're all admiring her and, her child and what's going on. It's very much like a Rosemary's Baby. But the crowds keep getting bigger and larger. So it builds to this crazy climax with this sacrifice scene that I just was like, I know it's fake. It's not real, but I was like, did they just go there? Are we going to see a baby, sacrificed and burned alive? And I couldn't believe what I was watching. And I was like, this is a taboo bashing film that's released by a major studio. And I think I like Black Swan, but I think this is Darren Aronofsky's kind of masterpiece. And I'm like, these guys have balls to put this film out. I get it rubbed people the wrong way, but guess what? Sometimes horror films need to make you feel uncomfortable. Yes. And this film does that to you, but it's beautifully shot, immaculately made. And I was like, we need more films like this. It's not a feel-good movie. You're not gonna want to go back and watch it a lot.
It's a thinking man's movie.
It is a thinking man's movie, but it gets you very, gets under your skin and kind of stays there. And it is, and I love Mother. It's the motherfucker of all horror films that have come out in the last 10 years. It's just very disturbing, and it kind of feels very retro in its ickiness. It feels like a 70s film. It's something you don't really see made anymore. It's like an art house horror film.
Yeah.
But it's vicious at times, and it kind of no holds barred. What are your thoughts on Mother?
Now, I've only seen it once. This was a while back now. And when I went into it, I'd heard, I heard, like you said, that people were either bashing it or they loved it. So I went into it, I watched it, and I thought to myself, you know what? At the end of it, obviously, not in the middle, I thought, this is one of those films that you could really dissect for a long time in your head if you really sat and thought about it. Because there's so many different things happening in the movie each time. With these crowds, with people, with her, where you could kind of see it as different possibilities. But at the same time, it is, like you said, the tabooism and how it's effective of not only her, but you, the audience, watching. And I felt like the reason a lot of people can't get into it is because it's a more deep cutting horror film where it's getting into your soul more and in your mind than it is showing it on the outside. Now, you do see stuff happen, but by the time that stuff happens, you're already affected by what you're seeing. So it feels worse than it is. As a lot of horror movies, it's like in your face the whole time. And I think that's why Mother is such a smart movie for a horror film, because I think it's one of those things that went by a lot of people because they're so used to Hollywood and they're just throwing, let's say, like a Halloween in your face, Terrifier, whatever, And I think this is a smart horror film that you really have to pay attention to. You have to really think about. So, yeah, I really liked it. And I really felt like it deserved a lot more love than it got.
Yeah, I mean, there's layers to it. It's kind of like a thinking man's horror film, but then it changes into something more visceral. But it's kind of like peeling like an onion, right? There's layers, and you keep moving things back, and it's like it's the real world, but it feels dreamlike.
I feel the same way about this movie as I do the film Men.
Oh, and I love that film. That's actually, when the 2020s are over, I'll probably end up being my top 5. I love it.
Yeah, a lot of people hate that film as well because they can't understand it, but yeah, both of these films are very similar in the fact that you really have to think and feel over just what you say. So, yeah.
I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Brilliant choice. Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Train to Busan. Now, this film came out of nowhere. I didn't see it when it came out. I watched it and I cried. I cheered. I romanticized it. I even thought about dumping Donna and marrying the Blu-ray. So this is a Korean film, and it stars I can't remember the guy's name now, but it
stars a star
and all that.
There's a star in it.
There's multiple stars in this film. I think Don Lee's in this, and it's not the lead, but it's one of the leads. So basically, Train to Busan is about this virus that gets loose. These people end up on the train together, but it's more than that. It's more than just a horror film. You get to meet these people. You get to feel these people. There's enough character development of each member of the person. Once they get from one section to another, they relate to each other. They feel each other. There's different generations of people. There's different views. There's a selfish person. There's people that just want to get home. There's 2 elderly people, but sisters that were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. There's a father who has more to do with the virus than you know, but he just wants to spend time with his daughter because he never spent time with his daughter, so he ends up wanting to protect her. There's a pregnant woman who's with her husband, and they're like trying to help him, and they go to one place because they find out, oh, it's okay. They get there, then it turns out it's not okay. There's so much to this film, and that's why it sucks. So Peninsula, the second one, sucks, but this one, phenomenal. And the train ride, just the tension and the suspense. Then in most zombie movies, the tension isn't there other than, oh, they're just outside. You know, they could come in, they could this. But the tension isn't from the zombies, even though the zombies are there and they do kill people. It's the people themselves. How many will survive because of the fear, because of the selfishness, because of the twisted personalities? Will the daughter survive? Will the woman who's pregnant, will they get where they need to go? Or will they all dwindle and end up dead? And will the whole of the area be gone? You know, it's a beautiful movie, well shot, and very sad ending. The ending always makes me cry.
So it's a little bit
Incredible movie.
Kind of like an epic zombie film, kind of like 28 Days Later, or like was it World War Z? Even though it's on a train, it doesn't feel, because I still haven't seen it.
It's a bit like that. I would say a bit like that, but with more heart to it.
Don't throw
but
stuff
they are
at
remaking this. America is remaking this into, I think, Train to New York or something.
Of course they are. So, and I still haven't seen it, so don't throw anything at me. Don't throw your Blu-rays at me, unless they're the bad ones. You could throw some VHS at me, but just the Blu-rays.
VHS, yeah, because you know I got any.
So Train to Busan.
How can you not have seen this? You need to pick it up.
Before I move on to my next pick, where were the zombie films all time? Where does this rank for you?
This would probably be, I'd say number 2 and Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead's your number 1?
Yeah, this would be number 1, I would say, but since Day of the Dead, because the retroness, because who doesn't like Bob?
Finally, a horror film that's current, that lives up to the hype. Ari Aster's Hereditary, along with Men. These are Men and Hereditary are the best films I've seen A24 release. This movie just feels icky. Like when you're watching it from the beginning to the end, everything seems off. The style, the editing, you know, when the girl gets beheaded in the car, but you don't see it happen, you know it happens, and you see the girl's head, I don't know, 5 minutes later, and it's got like ants all over it. This movie delivers. What a unique vision. The director, he kind of pulls from different inspirations. I see a little bit of Wicker Man in here. I see a little bit of kind of like, you know, cultish films from, you know, years gone by, but this feels original at the same time. He's not pulling and stealing. He's just being inspired from classic horror films, and just the acting is on a different level. Like Toni Collette, when I think about horror films where actors should have won an Academy Award, I think of Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. I think of Toni Collette and Hereditary. But horror films are never going to get that respect, and I'm okay with that, because I don't want horror to be accepted by all, because I think not everybody will appreciate these films. You know, you got stuff like The Omen that will be cherished, or Bram Stoker's Dracula, or Sixth Sense. Hereditary kind of falls in that line. But just even thinking about the film kind of makes my, you know, gives me goosebumps. There's just so much going on in this film, but it all works together. I'm kind of being cryptic about things. I don't want to spoil it. It still is a fairly new film. But go in blind. Don't hear too much about Hereditary. I think Midsommar, Ari Aster's follow-up to this, is not as good, but a lot of people seem to love it. But Hereditary is kind of a perfect horror film, and just a very vicious, visceral nightmare. It doesn't seem to be in the real world. It's off in its own fairy tale land. What do you think?
Not seen it.
What?
I owned it on Blu-ray for years, but I've not seen it.
That's worse than me saying I've never seen Train to Busan, because
no, that's not, because at least Train to Busan is more out there because it's a different country.
But you own the film, you still haven't popped it in. I can see if, you know, you own it, but you fucking own so many damn movies. You're like 5 years behind on movies because you keep buying.
It's true. And I got it for £3 as well. So yeah, I need to watch this. This is one I didn't watch because I know it's got a lot of high reviews. What was the other film that came out from the same director?
He did one with Joaquin Phoenix, which wasn't as much horror. It's slipping my mind because he did Hereditary.
You Were Never Here? Was it You Were Never Here?
Midsommar. It came out, I want to say, last year. It wasn't as well reviewed. It wasn't a straight up horror film, but it seemed to be divisive, which is okay. I can't think of the title off the top of my head. But so,
because I know there's no film like this that came out, but people were saying from the same director was good. So
Hereditary. Next up for Malcolm is Hush.
And don't get confused with the Buffy the Vampire episode, even though that is a lot of fun. Anyway, Hush. Netflix finally coming out on disc. That's exciting. I will say this film surprised me. Going in, I thought it was going to be very generic. I thought it was going to be very boring, and I thought it was just going to be a woman running around her house, without anything. But slowly but surely, she can't hear me. So she, she's hiding around. Basically, for the first 10, 15 minutes, he's looking through the window. He's popping up, and there's his faces in the glass, in a mask. What's going on? Well, eventually, it gets really creepy because she's trying to get around without him finding out when she sees him. Phone line's cut. She can't contact the outside world. And it just becomes one of those real cat and mouse kind of thrill chases. And I do enjoy it. Do I think it could be better? Yeah, I think it could be a lot better. But for what it was, I enjoy it. I think it's fun. I think it's romantic at times. I think it's, really good.
My favorite film for the director, whose name just slipped my mind, even though I had it, Mike Flanagan. Dr. Sleep, his Stephen King adaptation, is my favorite. But Hush is really well done. It's not a big budget. It's about sound and what you hear and what you don't hear, and how you take for granted that you can hear somebody if they're like knocking on your window or your door. Yeah. So it's the suspense of this film, and I am glad it was streaming exclusive for years. Netflix lost the rights to it. Now Scream Factory is putting it out on Blu-ray. I believe it comes out before the end of the year.
And in 4K.
In 4K as well. I don't think I'm gonna.
Blu-ray.
I liked it a lot, not enough to own it. But Mike Flanagan, along with guys like James Wan and Ari Aster, are probably the best filmmakers in the genre that we have going now. They're kind of like the John Carpenter, Wes Cravens of.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, guys. Especially James Wan. I mean, he's done so many big movies that become longer franchises. It's been unbelievable.
Well, in Saw, Insidious, he's kind of had this whole universe where he does this one successful film and it branches off into this franchise, which is kind of crazy. But Mike Flanagan, Hush.
Talk about Hush, just quickly. The reason I didn't say much about it is because there's not much to say. It's not going to just spoil basically what a normal movie, isn't it?
No One Lives from my boy Ryuya Kitamura.
Is this actually the cover? Because it looks really, really badly photoshopped.
It is, but it was actually, of all the artwork that I could find online, it was the most interesting and eye-catching. But you have a couple, Luke Evans and his lady. They get kidnapped by these killers, right? But little do the killers know that Luke Evans is also a serial killer. So it's a battle of the killers, and you end up rooting for Luke Evans more than the other guys. And what he puts these guys through, it's kind of like Don't Breathe. They barked up the wrong tree, and this guy's a bad motherfucker, right? So he just puts them through the ringer and just takes them out one by one. And I'm telling you, when it comes to horror with action, Kitamura is kind of like unmatched in the last 20 years. If you watch his films, Midnight Meat Train, No One Lives, he just gets it, man. He has a visual. It's like a John Woo, with the Lucio Fulci. He's got the gore, but he's got the action. His films are very well made. This was put out through Lionsgate. Great horror film. It's just, I was kind of on the bubble of putting it in there, but I wanted to shine a light on it because I figure a lot of people had never seen it or heard of it.
Great director as well.
Yeah, it came out in 2012. I love this film. So that's going to finish my top 5. No One Lives. I'm assuming you haven't seen it?
No. I've seen it in the stores, but I've never picked it up.
I think you would enjoy it. It's a strong cast, very well paced. It kind of had a breakneck pace and speed, and it just delivers on the viscera. You know, just.
I think the reason I didn't pick it up because last time I saw it in America, you know, on the shelves in Best Buy, and I think the cover just looked very generic. You know, like a really bad action movie, and I think that's probably what put me off.
It's Ryuya Kitamura, man. Get with it. Yeah. Okay, so Malcolm's 5th and final pick. I can't believe we're to the end already.
Oh, it's home. You know what? True story behind this. I didn't know this film even existed until my friend Alex bought it. Hold on a minute. Sorry, my friend bought it from Flex. And I went, let me see what this movie is about. So I watched it, I found it online. And boy, this is one of those movies. I did a review for it on my channel ages ago, where it's basically me just going, I don't know why I like this movie, but I really, really like it. Anyway, so Haunt is one of those films where they go to basically a haunted house attraction, but there's so much to it. Like this girl breaks up with her boyfriend. He's stalking her, and then basically you think, is he a part of this? Has he caused this? So they go in this haunted house, and slowly these weird things happen. He's pulling these masks, and they're going through it, and eventually they realise it's not all that it seems. And these guys are going around and they're causing this horrible stuff, and it's so violent. There's like these scenes where she's hiding under the bed crying because there's this traumatic event that happened in her life. And you just feel hooked to the screen watching it because you're like, wow, her boyfriend's really doing this. And then he turns up and you're like, so he's not a part of this. Or is he a part of this, you know? And it's perfect for a Halloween night watch because these films take their masks off and then you realize they're even more ugly underneath.
This movie came out right around the same time as Hellfest, and everybody gave Hellfest all the love, and I didn't like that film at all. Haunt trumps that film so much. It just wasn't as well known. It wasn't received as much by people. But this film, is weird. This is great. I enjoy, whether it's an amusement park, theme park, haunted house attractions. These kind of films have become a lot more popular in the last 5 years because I think that industry is huge. When it's Halloween time, even if it's in a small place that, you know, just pops up once a year, people love going to them. They love to be scared. They love the people in costume and jumping out.
You know a film I liked? The House October Built, but I didn't like the second one. Did you see them?
Which one?
The House October Built.
No, I know of them. This movie kind of reminded me more of like an old film. Remember Haunted Ween?
Yes.
Which is part of the, you know, homegrown horror set through Vinegar Syndrome.
That's how you know it, right?
Yeah, Haunt is probably top 10 for the decade. It didn't make my top 5. But it's something
especially that ending. I love that ending.
Yeah, Hellfest kind of got old and was repetitive, and it was too many jump scares. And by the end of the movie actually was a better setup where the guy is just a regular dude like you or I, and he's got a family, but he does this, but then you see his collection of masks. And I was like, I actually want to see the next one, even though I didn't like this film, because it's almost like he has a different mask for every occasion, for every time he's going to do it. And I'm like, but anyways, Haunt, I think, delivers far more than Hellfest.
Definitely could have been a movie franchise.
Before I get to our recap, let's go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And let's do a recap of our favorite horror films of the 2010s. I went with Lords of Salem, Piranha 3D, Mother, Hereditary, No One Lives. Malcolm went with Get Out, Revenge, Train to Busan, Hush, Haunt. And now I want to talk about a movie that opened up over the weekend that did about 18 million in domestic US dollars. Everybody seems to be raving about the Terrifier franchise. Terrifier 3 just did really well. The Joker sequel came out and cost a lot of money, and its return on investment's probably going down the toilet. I have yet to see All Hallows Eve, which is where Art the Clown first showed up. Then there's Terrifier 1, 2, and 3. I shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but I am. I can't even get past the trailers, let alone watch these films. I think it's amazing an independent film could be released in theaters and make a ton of money. But I think box office statistics are overrated. I don't know what the top 5 films box office wise are now, but it's probably like Titanic and A Force Awakens and Avatar The Way of Water. Don't get confused that just because a lot of people went and saw a film and it did a lot of money makes it good. I think it's good for horror, but horror has always been a staple of carrying Hollywood when shit goes bad. It goes back forever, because generally horror films don't cost a lot to make for the most part. So it's easy to make the money back. And you can go internationally, home video, 4K, Blu-ray, DVD, whatever. I'm all for, this film doing well. And maybe it's good, but I never wanted to see 1. 2 I heard was 2.5 hours, which holy shit, that is way too long for any film, let alone a slasher film with this ridiculous looking character. I can't get past his stupid look, to be honest with you. Right now, a lot of horror fans, not all of them, are stroking themselves really hard this weekend over how well this film did. And I find some, not all, but some of these horror fans are obnoxious. And they're equivalent to the Dallas Cowboy fans of sports who are just, I can't stand. So yes, bring it on. I don't mind getting some heat from this, but I just can't even find myself. If you handed me a copy of any of these Terrifier films now for free, it would be a couple of months before it found my way into my player. It just feels like a direct-to-video horror film that made it to theaters. I mean, good on the director, good on Bloody Disgusting. I know they're all reveling in the success, but I just don't get it. What about you, man? What do you think of these Terrifier films?
Okay, so I saw All Hallows Eve first, which I preferred because it's based on an anthology film. I really enjoyed Art Clan. It was played by a different actor at the time. I like that. The first Terrifier film, I remember putting on, watching it and going, okay, so it's just a clown walking around with a rubbish bag or garbage sack if you're in America, and basically just torturing and killing people for the fun of it and waving to them like this. So I was like, okay, that's not too bad, but it's not great. The second film I put it on, 2.5 hours of him just going around with his bag and doing weird stuff and killing people in violent ways and some really bad, I wouldn't say the actresses are terrible, but it's just not top tier, and yeah, if it's indie, then yeah, it's not going to be. But it's like gore for the sake of gore. And to me, I've got to a point now where I want my horrors to be a little bit more smarter or at least a little bit more fun, Like if you said to me, well, I'll watch Terrifier or a film similar called The Jester, which basically has a supernatural being in an orange suit with a jester mask on, I preferred that. I preferred The Jester more than this. Maybe because the mask was better, and maybe because you didn't know what was under the mask. But I have no interest in Terrifier 3 or 4. And I'm going to put on my snobbish horror hat here and say, you know what? If you like Terrifier 3 or 4, that's good for you. But maybe you need to contemplate your view of horror, right? And what your view of the mindset of being a horror fan is. Because for me, it's not all about gore. It's all about the titties, and it's all about the action. Go back to Halloween, the original one. Go back to Halloween, the Rob Zombie one. At least that was sweet when Daniel Harris is getting them out.
Malcolm,
No, I don't like that movie.
you are not one of us horror fans. Google gobble. You're not one of us. Look, I'm all for people, having open minds, and hey, we don't all have to agree on the same thing. Just remember that. Yes, I haven't seen the films, but they've looked so bad that I just don't want to waste the 90 minutes of my life, or God forbid, 2.5 hours with the second film. I'm sure we're going to get Terrifier films every October until they stop making money. So yeah, we absolutely have a new horror franchise, kind of replaces Jigsaw and the Saw series.
Well, let's be honest. Of all of a good horror film should be under an hour and 40 minutes. I mean, once it goes past that, it's mental.
When I watched Bloodhook, which is a slasher film, it was an hour and 50 minutes. And I thought that extra 20 minutes, because it should have been a 90-minute film, was brutal, right? But whatever, to each their own. I'm going to be transparent on my website. Or this is my website now. My YouTube channel.
Your website. You own YouTube. I didn't know that.
Yes. But I also want Malcolm to be. And if Malcolm loved Terrifier, then we'd have a battle right now. But I just... it doesn't do anything for me.
What's your problem with it then?
I guess a 16-year-old Jason would have been a lot more. If it's just tearing people up, then I can go watch Murder Set Pieces, or what's that one with the baby that's notorious? Unearthed Films.
Yeah, what one is it?
You know what I'm talking about. Oh,
I do know what one it is.
Serbian film.
Serbian film, okay.
A younger me that watched Faces of Death and kind of got off on those kind of things. Don't get me wrong.
Hold on a minute. I need to ask you this. You just said Faces of Death, you got off on them. Do you mean...
Well, not that kind of get off. I'm not that weirdo like that. Don't even go there with that shit. But anyways, no. For everybody likes Terrifier, that's cool. Just don't be like the Dallas Cowboys and be obnoxious and patting yourself on the back. Making money is great, but I don't see it. You don't see it. They see it. Good money at the box office doesn't equate to being a good film. It helps. It gets movies greenlit. Hollywood loves it, but I love a lot of films that didn't do squat at the box office.
I'm gonna be honest here because I joke around a little bit. So I'm gonna take back a bit what I said, because I know George will watch this and he loves the Terrifier movies. So if you like gore and you like lots of gore and you like that type of stuff, I'm happy for you. But for me, I'm a little bit, thinking when it comes to horror. And yeah, I do stand by what I said, but not as harsh as people might think I'm being. A little bit of joking, but also a little bit of seriousness as well, because I do think some of that. But yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. I appreciate it. Next Monday, we'll be back with our continuing look at the Star Wars series. We're on to Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And then the following week, we have some fun Halloween trick-or-treat talk. But I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to do my Art the Clown. See you guys later. Talk to you soon. And
bye, guys.
Later.